Good evening, sports fans. The Sports Hounds are live here each and every Monday exclusively on a2dradio.com. I'm Rob Brinkman. He's Brad Ryer. Frank Vesby is producing the show. As always, we are streaming live on Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, and Instagram. If you miss anything here on A2D Radio, download us, stream us in podcast form. Spreaker, Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, iHeartRadio. The takeover is real. The takeover is everywhere. Big things coming for A2D Radio. Keep an eye on all of our social media accounts for all the latest news on the growth, the expansion of A2D Radio. Very big things. More shows coming in, new sponsors. It's going to be great. The best is yet to come for A2D Radio. Take care of some business first. As always, the Sports Hounds and all the shows here on A2D Radio, sponsored by Specialized Physical Therapy. Dr. Paul Vidal, he's our doc. Make him yours too. 3 convenient locations, Burlington, Cherry Hill, and Princeton, New Jersey. Like I said, he's our doc. Make him yours too. Also, check out our gutter guys at Buck Services. They are the gutter and deck experts of South Jersey. Give them a call at 856-879-5530. Tell them A2D Radio sent you. Get that friends and family discount. Brad, we've been doing shows together for 5 years. And I have never once seen you wear glasses.
Supposed to be wearing them all the time, Rob. But for those who know me,
what do you mean? You're supposed to be wearing them all the time, and I've never seen you in them.
Is that not typical, though?
I wouldn't expect anything less from you, Brad.
There you go. But you know what? My eyes are getting so lousy. I just decided, it's time to put them on and start wearing them.
A good idea. Maybe now you'll be better with the computer now.
Well, I could definitely read it better. I mean, that's no question about that.
We got a lot going on like we do each and every Monday. We got a Monday Night Football preview. We'll be live reacting. Can the Jets somehow get a win tonight? We got the NFL. We're roughly past the halfway point. We're going to repick our division winners, repick our playoff predictions at the halfway point here. Some teams look really good. Some teams don't, frankly. Some teams
some teams look like they're improving, and some teams are starting to fall apart. So,
and then we got an Eagles-Giants. We got an Eagles-Giants matchup Sunday, 1:00.
Big game for both teams.
Eagles just squeaked by the first time. They're going to go up to New York this time. We're going to see how that goes out. Giants get a big win yesterday. Dallas still – Giants get a crucial sweep of Washington, Brad.
Yeah, it's amazing how they've had their number. They've won 6 straight against Washington now.
So,
it's not like the Giants have been any good the last 3 years. Just I don't know what happens when they play Washington. They suddenly have a growth of manhood. I guess I can't explain it.
Daniel Jones, your boy Daniel Jones, under a lot of heat. He's got 5 career wins. Brad, 4 of them are against the Washington football team.
Well, I thought he played very well yesterday, quite honestly. I mean, you can't really criticize his game. I mean, I'll tell you what, I thought the play of the game, and Jonathan Vilma said this during the broadcast yesterday, 3rd down and 12, and Jones is back to throw with roughly 1 minute and 50 seconds to go in the game. And Jones is back to throw, and, I mean, he got walloped. And by the grace of God, he didn't fumble. And, Vilma was going off saying, I can't believe he held on to that ball. How in the world did he hold on to that ball? And you know what? Kind of reminded me of Tiki Barber learning how to hold on to the ball and stop fumbling. Maybe Daniel Jones is finally learning how to hold on to the ball and make some better decisions. He really made a lot of good decisions yesterday. I mean, he took the sacks when he had to take the sacks. He stopped trying to force the ball in. And he threw the ball away, which he hasn't been doing all season.
And we got baseball. Free agency's underway. They're handing out awards. We touched on the World Series a little bit last week and how Kevin Cash just completely fumbled the thing away. Looks like the Phillies are going to fumble away the offseason. The Yankees, they have some decisions to make. The Red Sox, the Mets, these are big market teams that, frankly, I don't think are going to stand for being bad much longer. It should be very interesting offseason in terms of Major League Baseball.
Absolutely.
There's not the big names that Harper and Machado were, but there's some guys who can make a difference.
There are a lot of just good players. There's no true superstars unless you want to, consider DJ LeMahieu a superstar. I mean, he's a batting champion, a two-time batting champion, and he's hit over 330 2 years in a row. So
I mean, all due respect to him, he's not a superstar. George Springer's not a superstar.
He's not. No, that's what I'm saying. There's some There's some really good players who can help a team.
There's guys who can help, especially we're here in Philadelphia. You look at the guy. I still maintain that the Phillies are not that far away from having a really good baseball team.
No, they're not. They just need a couple of tweaks.
You need some guys who can pitch after the starter goes in. You need a bullpen, and you need to retain some of these guys that are free agents. And I don't see any reason why this team can't make a playoff run next year if they make a few solid decisions this offseason.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, there is no reason why either the Phillies can improve their game, step it up, and make the playoffs next season, and there's no reason that the Yankees can't make a few moves and step up their game. Now, I've heard rumors that now all of a sudden, Steinbrenner is being cheap Hal again, and he doesn't want to go over the number. So who knows with the Yankees? They still are $30 million under the luxury tax level. So I mean, they do have some money to spend now. Do they spend it on Bauer? And go over by a little bit, or do they not spend it on Bauer and make a few smart moves under the radar, so to speak? I mean, there's always guys like Stroman that you could pick up, a guy like him on the cheap. There's a couple of guys like that who you could pick up who can be second, third, and fourth pitchers. You don't necessarily have to have four aces like Philadelphia did in 2010. I mean, you don't have to have that. Just get some guys who can go out there, throw some innings, and put some zeros on the board, and make it a point where the bullpen doesn't have to be exhausted. Only gets a 1 day rest every 5 days, and that's when Cole pitches. That's what they really need to do. Get a couple of guys who can give you some innings and be reasonable. The Yankees have a good offense. They have a pretty good bullpen, but you can't wear them out. That's going to be key.
And then, everyone wants to preach pitching, but, the four aces, it didn't work. I mean, it worked. They won games, but they did not reach the ultimate.
No, there's no guarantee that that's going to happen. Look at the Braves. How many championships did the Braves have? They
won one, right? They won in 95.
Yeah, but they had three Hall of Famers on the top of their rotation: Smoltz, Glavine, and Maddox. And they won one championship. Look at the Cleveland Indians back in 1948. They had four Hall of Fame pitchers. Oh, excuse me, the whole Indians team from that era in the late 40s and early 50s. They had four Hall of Fame pitchers: Bob Feller, Early Wynn, Lemon, and I can't remember the other one. But they had Mike Garcia. They had four guys. They had four Hall of Fame pitchers, and they never won a. They won one championship? I think in 47. I think that was it. That's the only championship.
I'll take your word for that. My clock doesn't wind back. I know we're in daylight savings time. My clock does not wind back that far.
I'm just making a point. Let's look.
I understand.
Well, the Orioles had 420 game winners. I mean, they finally won in 1970. Or was it? Yeah, no, 1970. Yeah, but I mean, they had 420 game winners, and when they played the Mets, they got smoked. It happens.
Comments flying in. We're going to get to everybody's comments soon throughout the show. We're with you till 9:30 tonight. But, Brad, let's get to our poll question. Our poll question each and every week brought to you by Philly Drinkers, LLC. The holiday season is just around the corner. Get all your friends and family A2D merchandise. Help us spread our movement. We're the fastest growing sports media company in the country. Go to phillydrinkers.com. Buy some merchandise. Help us prove it. It's Philly Drinkers LLC, A2D Radio Collection. Buy some shit. The Jets are going to beat the Patriots tonight. Brad, I feel strongly about this. I think that the Patriots they're dead ducks. Not that the Jets are any good, But I think that these teams, their division rivals, are starting to see that they're weak, Brad. The Bills saw they were weak last week. The Jets are going to see that they're weak tonight. The Patriots have been kicking the teeth in of the division for what, 20 years now with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick?
Yep.
Patriots are a weak team. Cam Newton is just, I think, a turnover away from just spontaneously combusting, being benched for good in favor of Jared Syntham. I think if the Jets don't win tonight, I think they're not going to win a game. So I'm going to pick the Jets tonight. I saw 9.5. I've seen 9 in some spots. I'm taking the 9. Maybe a little money line sprinkle out there. I think the Jets can win this game outright. I mean, Joe Flacco, I understand he's a backup. He's out of his prime. But, I mean, I still think he can put 4 quarters together against a defense that has many opt-outs. Stephon Gilmore is not playing tonight. Cam Newton does not have the skill players he needs to be successful. I think the Jets can get this one tonight. Jets made a lot of trades at the trade deadline. They dumped a lot of talent. A lot of guys are finally going to get a shot there. I think the Jets step up tonight, and I think they get this win.
Yeah, I got to disagree. The Jets are horrible, and not having Darnold is just another kick in the butt for this team. I mean, I would have if Darnold was playing, I would like their chances to win tonight, but I just don't see it. I mean, the Jets are just they've been so bad this year, so bad. I just don't see it. I mean, they can't score, they can't move the ball. Their running game's terrible. Their offensive line, other than Becton, who, by the way, has been a great offensive lineman for them. If for those of you who are Giant fans and can't stand Andrew Thomas like me, we should have picked him. But that's another argument for later. But the Jets just, I don't see it. The Patriots still have a pretty good defense. And they'll score some points. The Jets' defense is garbage. I just don't see it. I think the Jets this is one of the worst teams I've ever seen. They're just terrible. They really don't have any stress, especially when Darnold isn't playing. I mean, Flacco I watched the game when they played the Colts, when they got shut out, and Flacco just looked inept. I mean, he looked like a statue back there. He looked like Eli Manning when Eli's going to be 60. Quite honestly, and Eli had no mobility at the end of his career. I mean, Flacco looks worse than that, so I just don't see it.
I mean, do you think Sam Darnold is a franchise quarterback, or you think that the Jets probably going to have a top 3 pick?
He has not performed like a number 3 pick. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, you take a look at some of the other young quarterbacks around the league. You take a look at Justin Herbert, even Baker Mayfield. If you want to get to go that far too. I mean, all these guys are playing a lot better than Darnold right now. I mean, Darnold had a nice little streak last year, but it just seems like he can't stay on the field. It's always something with him. Whether it was mono last year or he keeps hurting his ankle this year. When he was a rookie, he missed a couple of games. I mean, I think he missed 3 games when he was a rookie too. So, I mean, I don't see it. I don't see it. I think that, and for those of you who watched the Notre Dame Clemson game on Saturday night, you were hearing the Notre Dame fans teasing Trevor Lawrence, yelling JETS the whole night. Every time they showed him on TV. They were all taunting him with the JETS, Jets.
Well, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be on the Cowboys, but I mean, they both suck.
Yeah, well, you think they're going to let Dak go?
I think if you have the first pick in the NFL draft this coming spring or whenever they're doing it with all this COVID bullshit, and you don't take Trevor Lawrence, you're just asking to get fired as a general manager. He's the biggest can't miss since Peyton Manning, I think. Like, you can't not take this guy.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like James Wiseman in the NBA draft. Yeah, the Minnesota Wolves, they have Karl Anthony Towns, a terrific center, but like James Wiseman, I think, is the only guy in the NBA draft that is going to be a max player, potential first-team All-NBA player. There's some other good.
That's an example of maybe you want to try a Twin Towers team. I mean, you could try it.
But I don't care, and that's not going to work because like
it never does. But
we go over this all the time, and I don't mean to get NBA tangent, even though I am excited for the NBA offseason because I like what the Sixers are doing. But that's a discussion for another time. Like you can't be the GM that passes on Trevor Lawrence. Even if you take Trevor Lawrence and he's a complete stiff and a bust who can't play, you can at least defend your pick by saying, well, I mean, our scouts told us, everyone said that this guy was can't miss. So I took him.
Yeah, but the Jets would have to win 2 games just to get into the discussion. And right now the Jets are going to have the first round pick. I mean, if you're the Jets, you have to pick Trevor Lawrence and you have to trade Sam Darnold. I mean, it's as simple as that. And you know you're not going to get a first round pick for Sam Darnold. If you're lucky, you'll get a third.
Now, we talk about all this with Carson Wentz here in Philadelphia and Daniel Jones some too. It's another valid example. How much adversity is too much adversity for a supposed franchise quarterback to overcome? I get frustrated with Carson Wentz supporters that I see on Facebook. It's never Carson Wentz's fault. Everyone's too injured. The coaching sucks. The receivers suck. This, that, and the other. When is it on Carson Wentz? I get to play better, play like a franchise quarterback, to overcome this adversity and play well. Same with Sam Darnold in New York and Daniel Jones in also New York. Like, how much is too much adversity? Like, what would you need to see from Sam Darnold the rest of the season on a bad football team to convince you he's a franchise quarterback?
Well, just make better decisions. And the same goes for Daniel Jones. I mean, Daniel Jones yesterday, I thought he played a very good game. I really do. I think he played a smart road game. You know, he didn't commit any turnovers. He didn't force the ball in like he usually does. You know, if he saw that if he threw a pass that was probably going to get blocked, he just took the sack and didn't try to be a hero in every play. He's learning to do that now. If he can do that against the Eagles, I think the Giants have a very good chance to win the game. But he's going to have to play turnover-free football. Because still, the Eagles, I think they still have a little bit more talent than the Giants do. And the only way the Giants can win the game is if they win the turnover battle, which they won yesterday 5-0.
Well, I mean, Carson Wentz has proven that he's been a turnover machine the whole time. Hopefully after the bye he can get rid of that. So, Brad, you're taking the Patriots. Are you laying the lumber or are you just picking the Patriots to win?
You know what? I wouldn't give up 9 points. That's too many points. The Patriots' offense has been awful. So, I mean, if you're asking me as far as the line and who I would take with the line, I take the Jets in the 9 points because I don't trust the Patriots to score enough points. You know, I mean, do you think the Patriots is going to score 30 points?
No.
All right, to win a line where you're spotting 9 points, you best score 30 points. Because you know the Jets will score some points. The Jets will probably get at least 14 to 17 points. So
well, this is the first game. I think the Jets are going to score some points tonight because this is the first game. We're in week 9. This is the first game that the Jets have had their 3 top wide receivers all active at once. That's Jamison Crowder, that's Brashard Perryman from Tampa, free agent signing, and Denzel Mims, their second-round draft pick. So, you know, I think that they have the chance to be able to score points tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think they will. I think they'll cover the spread. I don't think they're going to win the game. You know what? I thought that the Jets would beat Denver when they played Denver, and Denver just blew them away, and they marched up and down the field the whole night long. You know, so I don't see how it's going to be any different. I mean, I hope it is. You know, I mean, I always root for the Jets when they play the Patriots, and I would hope that they win tonight. I think the Patriots are going to take some very serious lumps because they still have to play Miami and they have to play Buffalo again. So I think the good teams in the division are going to have their way with the Patriots. But I mean, the Jets right now are just not a very good team right
now. No, and it's a shame that we're flooded on these primetime games with such. I mean, last night's not a good example because that was supposed to be a good game and it wasn't. But you know, we had.
Well, I mean, last night
the Giants and the Eagles were a Thursday night game. The Eagles and the Cowboys were a Sunday night game. The Monday night games haven't been really anything to write home about.
No.
I think you had the Ravens and the Chiefs in week 3 or something like that.
Last Monday night's game was a really good game, though. I mean, the Giants came out and played a great game. And
the Giants and the Bucs, yes.
Yeah,
but
the Giants got screwed big time on that 2-point conversion because the guy was all over. He was there. He was all over him 2 steps before the ball got there. I mean, they actually had on a Giants blog. They actually had a stop camera. They had several pictures of when the ball was in the air, and I mean the guy in Tampa Bay was all over him. And they didn't give the Giants the break, which they should have because he was interfering. Of course, knowing the Giants, however, you could make the argument that they probably wouldn't have gotten in from the 1 anyway. So the more you watch the Giants, you understand that, so you don't get yourself too upset about it because you know better.
Let's get to some comments here. Tommy Arnone's in the house. He disagrees with the poll. He thinks the Patriots are going to win and the game's going to go over somehow. It is very low total at 42.
42 is low,
especially in today's NFL. It used to be like if there was a total in the 50s, like it was like, whoa. Now every game's in the 50s in terms of the posted over/under total. I mean, I can bite on the over, I guess. I think some weird shit's going to have to happen for the game to go over, but I think that weird shit is bound to, like punt return touchdowns, kick return touchdowns, turnovers, sack.
A pick six or so, or a pick six or a
I think a comedy of errors. I think a comedy of errors by 2 bad football teams could lead this game to go over. So I'll buy that, Tom. I'll buy the over with you. I'm taking the Jets +9, and I'm taking the Jets outright. Who else we got here? Rosca's in the house. Rosca wants the Angels to get a new GM, and
I saw that post. He wants Didi and Lindor, and who's playing shortstop and who's playing second base. Just curious. Didi only plays shortstop, and Lindor's never played any other position but shortstop. So who do you move to second base, and then
I don't understand. I don't understand the Cleveland Indians trying to trade Lindor. I mean,
because they don't want to pay for him. They're a very cheap organization, and they're already paying Ramirez, and I guess they're going to save their money so that they can pay Bieber, I suppose.
I mean, all due respect to Shane Bieber, who had a historically great season, albeit in a shortened season, but I mean, Lindor's on the field every day.
Oh, I agree with you, but look,
if I'm the GM there and I'm that constricted on my salary, I'm not letting Francisco Lindor go.
No, I'm finding a way to keep him.
And if that's at the expense of Shane Bieber, then so be it.
Yeah, I mean, shortstops are a little different than other positions on the field. Shortstop is the most important defensive position on the field. I mean, if the Yankees go and they get Francisco Lindor, then I think it'd be a safe bet to say that LeMahieu's going to be gone and they'll put Gleyber Torres back at second base again.
Well, that's the kind of moves the Yankees should be trying to make. They should be trying to trade because the Yankees have an excellent team. Let's face it, they have an excellent team, but they also have an excellent farm system. Usually it's the opposite. Usually if you have a bad team, MLB team, you got a loaded farm system, you're just waiting for the guys to come up. The Yankees have both. Like, you got a guy sitting there, he's the best at his position. Let's face it, I mean, Ron Bloomberg, our buddy Ron Bloomberg, he hit the nail right on the head with Gleyber Torres not being able to cut the mustard at shortstop, so to speak. Like, the Yankees
He was right.
The Yankees need a shortstop. So
they need a better defensive shortstop.
I mean, we've been kind of saying the whole time that we thought Didi Gregorius was going to make his way back to the Bronx after 1 year in Philadelphia, kind of like what Aroldis Chapman did when that was a trade. It's a little different, but I mean, if you can get your hands on Francisco Lindor, if you're the Yankees, I mean, that's game, set, match. You can figure out the rotation. You pointed out some cheap guys that could possibly fill that void, but you got to go get Lindor. I mean, you can't not.
Well, there is another New York team that's going to want him, and there's also a a team from Boston that might want him. So I mean, it's
But the Yankees can put together a far superior package.
They could. They've got some guys. I mean, they could actually if they wanted to keep DJ, they could actually, in theory, they could trade Luke Voigt over there, and they could probably do that. The Indians would probably do that. Because Luke Voigt is a young well, he's not really that young. He's 28, but he's a controllable player. I mean, he's only been in the league for 3 years. So the Indians won't have to pay him at all, and you're getting the home run champion, albeit in 60 games, but still 20. What did he hit? Like 24 home runs in 60 games?
Yeah, but that's not enough to get Lindor. Luke Voigt.
Well, no, but it's a good start. They're going to have to give him some minor leaguers too, no question about that. But Luke Voigt, if you're asking like a guy that can go in and play every day, and a position player that can play right now, Luke Voigt would be a pretty good start. No, I mean, if you're the Yankees, you could do that and put sign DJ LeMahieu to play first base if they're willing to spend the money. I mean, they could do that. That would be the one way they could do that. Yeah, I mean, the Yankees, the one thing they really could use is a left-handed hitter. They need a good left-handed hitter in the worst way. The only left-handed hitter last year that was in their lineup every day was Hicks, and occasionally Gardner. And Gardner was awful. I mean, he had a good playoff, but he was awful last year. And they didn't pick up his. They also bought him out. So I don't see him coming back. Oh, there were a lot of rumors, but I wouldn't take him back.
Joseph Horowski, he's using the Patriots as his captain in Showdown DraftKings mode. It's a bold move. If that works out for you, you'll probably win some money out of it. Stephen Reichel, host of the weekly roundup every Saturday afternoon. Good evening, fellas. I disagree to the poll, so he's got the Patriots tonight. Chrome is checking in from Orlando. It's 2 time in Miami. Chrome likes the Dolphins. He also likes the Eagles. I don't know if this is his number one team. It's fairly confusing. He does host Birds of a Feather, an Eagles show right here on A2D Radio every Thursday night. And he also hosts a wrestling show every Tuesday night. But how about Tua, Brad?
He had a hell of a game yesterday. We'll see, though. Two game. He had one really great game, and he had one awful game. So we'll see what happens with him. I am convinced that Miami has a golden opportunity to make the playoffs.
They're not bad. We're gonna go through conference, each division, one by one. We're going to redo our picks, and we're just going to kind of take a overview of the league just over the halfway point. Danny Salerno, I never had a illicit relationship with anyone, Brinkman, so quit cyberbullying me. Yeah, I don't know what that.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah, Danny's off the deep end. I don't know. Mike Parker, this is 2020. The Jets can win.
Oh yeah, they could.
Yeah, and Danny Salerno, he's just being a jackass. But anyway, Brad, so we're 9 weeks into this thing. Week 9 will conclude tonight. I wanted to take a chance to kind of look at the league, full circle, figure out who the contenders, we touched on it last week, who the contenders and pretenders are, redo our playoff picks, and ultimately re-choose who is going to represent each conference in the Super Bowl, who's going to win the Super Bowl. So there's been a lot going on about recounts and retallies, so we're going to retally our NFL predictions right now. Brad, let's start in the NFC East because the Giants have made this thing very interesting. They get a season sweep of the Washington football team. I would assume they're going to beat Dallas again. They're playing a last third-place schedule, and they play the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday in New York. Brad, this is a golden opportunity for the Giants to get a big win over a team they don't really beat that much and kind of slowly grip their hands around a potential playoff spot.
Yeah, this is a golden opportunity for them. And they They should have won the game in Philadelphia, as we all know. Uh, Fortunately for them, they, drop passes and defensive mistakes at the end of the game cost them the game. And the problem with the Giants all year is that they have invented ways to lose every week. Now, yesterday, the defense stepped up in the last 2 minutes of the game, and they picked off Alex Smith twice to put the game away. Now, if they can do something like that against the Eagles, they can win the game for sure. I mean, Carson Wentz has been up and down, and if they can put a lot of pressure on him and force him into some mistakes, you never know what could happen. The Giants could win the game. But the Giants are going to have to win the turnover battle. They're not good enough to beat the Eagles unless they can force some turnovers, force Wentz into some mistakes, bad passes, and that's really the way they're going to have to do it. And they're going to have to win the field position battle as well.
Does Daniel Jones have it in him?
Well, he had it in him yesterday. I mean, I think he's got it in him. I mean, I think with Daniel Jones.
Okay, with all due respect to the Washington football team and their quarterback situation, it's not as good as the quarterback situation here in Philadelphia. And the Washington football team is not as talented a team on paper as the Philadelphia Eagles.
No, they're not. But
can Daniel Jones step up and win a big game against a semi-worthy opponent? He's taken a lot of heat in New York this year. I thought he looked good.
That is not
so hot this year. It's been regression.
That's going to be the question. I mean, the Giants have played well against the good teams, and they, unfortunately for them, they found a way to lose every time. It's just the way it's been with the Giants. Can they step up and win? I mean, I think that as long as they don't commit turnovers, I think they can beat the Eagles. The Eagles are about 50 miles south of where they were a couple of years ago. They are nowhere near the team that they were a couple of years ago.
No, they're not contenders. They're not contenders to win anything past the NFC East.
Exactly. Now, that's why I'm saying I think the Giants could win the game. But again, as a fan, I definitely think they can win the game. As a realist, again, they're going to have to get some help. They're going to have to get some help from Carson Wentz making some dumb plays. Their offensive line is going to have to keep the guys, especially one Brandon Graham, away from Daniel Jones. They're going to have to keep Fletcher Cox in check, and they're going to have to play mistake-free football. And they can't be dropping passes, especially Evan Ingram, who once again yesterday in a big spot, there's a ball hit him in the helmet, in the face mask. I don't know how you miss a ball that badly. I mean, you talk about Daniel Jones putting one right on the money to Evan Ingram. I mean, he threw a 30-yard bullet right to him, hits him in the helmet. I mean, seriously? I mean, these are the kind of things, and when you consider the unbelievable catch Ingram made on the touchdown to put them ahead 10-0, it just doesn't make sense. That guy's got to get his act together, most definitely.
And then you also have, it looks like Golden Tate's going to be allowed to participate in the game. He's going to be allowed to participate in practice this week. Is he out of the doghouse there?
Well, we'll see. If he keeps complaining, he's not going to be. If he keeps complaining, they're going to cut him.
Wasn't that aggressive to suspend him for a game? I mean, you're in the middle of a playoff race.
No. He deserved it. He was being an asshole. You can't.
Because he wants the ball.
He was making a scene on the sidelines. Okay. You know what? Here's the deal. Okay. Odell Beckham used to do that shit all the time, and nobody ever stood up to him. I am glad to see that Joe Judge basically gave him a big FU and told him and kicked him off the field and sent him home this past week. I
mean, with all due respect to Golden Tate, he's not a 1,500-yard receiver like Odell Beckham was in New York.
No, but that's the whole point. Okay, if he wasn't,
Golden Tate didn't get any slack because he's not that good of a player. I get it.
No, and he shouldn't get any slack because you know what? He's not getting open all the time. When he does get open and he catches the ball, he's not getting a lot of yards after the catch. He's been a very average receiver, and it really looks bad for Dave Gettleman that he traded Odell Beckham because Odell Beckham was quote unquote a troublemaker, and a pain in the ass. And then you go and you sign a guy who's a troublemaker and a pain in the ass, who was even suspended the first 4 games of last season because he's a pain in the ass. So I mean, these are the kind of things that can't happen. I was personally really glad to see Joe Judge stand up and tell him to go take a seat. I mean, we don't need one of these guys' wives getting involved. Screw them. I mean, the guys in Saquon Barkley, we don't need him on the team. We can lose without him.
Yeah, the Odell saga in New York, it's still puzzling to me. They give him the big contract and then they trade him.
Well, that was Gettleman. I mean, don't ask me why. Shermer couldn't deal with it, so he went and traded him. Now, Odell again got hurt, which has been a habit of Odell since he got here. Of getting hurt. So he goes to Cleveland as one subpar season in Cleveland, and then this year he's doing pretty well, and then he goes and he gets hurt. So I don't know. It's kind of a shit.
If Daniel Jones had a healthy top 5 receiver in Odell Beckham to throw to this year, do you think
it would absolutely? I think it would absolutely make a difference. I mean, nothing against Darius Slayton. Darius Slayton's been a pretty good receiver, and he's on track to catch 60 balls this year. Which is pretty good, not bad. But I mean, they need that one guy, and right now they just don't have him.
How many more wins do you think the Giants would have if they had a sane Odell Beckham Jr. playing receiver with Daniel Jones?
Well, and if Barkley was playing also, which has kind of hurt them too. I mean, let's not forget they don't have Saquon Barkley. He is without question the best offensive player on the team, and every time he gets the ball, he's a threat to score a touchdown. So I mean, that is a factor when your leading rusher is your quarterback. That's not very good either.
Do you think that this has now become? It's been a 2-horse race. It started 2-horse race between Philadelphia and Dallas, and then it shifted towards Philadelphia and the Washington football team. Now it seems like a 2-horse race between the Eagles and the Giants. The only constant here has been the Eagles being
absolutely, because the Eagles
are one of the favorites, and the Eagles were off. The Eagles were off this week, Brad. I would expect that Miles Sanders and Lane Johnson, 2 huge guys to have back off the injury report. I would expect. Looks like Alshon Jeffrey's return is imminent. I don't know how effective he's going to be. So you're starting to get guys back for Carson. You're starting to get healthy. TJ Edwards has solidified, at least in the one game against Dallas, solidified a linebacker spot. It looks like Darius Slay avoided a major injury. Jalen Mills and Rodney McLeod have been great. Will Parks is starting to get healthy. So this team should be able to beat the Giants, I think. And if this Eagles team doesn't win this pathetic NFC East, I mean, it's time for some seats upstairs to start getting hot, preferably being the general manager and the head coach.
Absolutely.
Not saying to fire him willy-nilly, but if the Eagles don't win this division, I got to turn the heat up on Doug, and I got to turn the heat up on Howie. That's just the way it is. You can't not make the playoffs this year.
Well, here's the problem. They better win that game against the Giants, because if they lose the game, they would have a half-game lead. But remember, their next 4 games is the gauntlet, and that's the 4 games that I think that they're going to have a 4-game losing streak, because they're going to be playing 4 of the best teams in the NFC. I mean, they're going to be playing the Seahawks, the Cardinals. I believe they're going to be playing Green Bay, and they're going to be playing New Orleans.
Green Bay and New Orleans, yes.
And those 4 teams are right now better teams than the Eagles. Now, things could change. If the Eagles get all their guys back healthy and they're all playing well, obviously my opinion of them will change. But until I actually see them go out and play a really good game, I have to have serious questions about that. They have the ability, they have some talent on their team, but they're not playing.
Yeah, but I mean, they're not beating those teams. They're not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, if they lose to the Giants, that would make them 3-5-1, and then they could be 3-9-1.
You can't lose the. The games aren't all in a row, Brad. Just to correct you on the schedule.
Oh, are they? Okay.
No. Cleveland's mixed in there, kind of breaks it up, and then you have another Dallas game in there, kind of breaking them up as well.
Okay.
But I think Seattle, New Orleans, and Green Bay are right in a row.
That's what I thought.
Arizona's kind of hidden at the back end.
Okay.
I mean,
Arizona's been a weird team this year.
I see this team. First off, you have to win Sunday. You can't lose to the Giants. It can't happen. Carson needs to get it together. Doug needs to get it together. They need to circle these wagons and they need to get a big division win. Because
that's what might be favoring the Giants is the fact that the Giants are not expecting to win the game. The Giant fans don't really expect them to win this game. They don't have that much pressure on them. The Eagles have all kinds of pressure on them because they're expected to win this game. So if
the Eagles open, just to look at the line real quick, the Eagles open as a 3.5-point road favorite.
Exactly, that's the point. That means that they would be a 9-point home favorite, which they shouldn't be. That's too high.
Which that's a bad line. I mean, the Eagles shouldn't be 9-point favorites over anybody this year.
No, but you have to adjust the line 6 points from road to home. 3.5 is way too many points. I think it would be more accurate to be 2.5 would probably be more accurate. I would bet you that if you're betting with a New York bookie, you probably get 2.5. Because I think a lot of Giant fans will probably bet the Giants, and I think down here it'll probably be a slightly higher line because everybody's going to be betting the Eagles. But
looking at the East. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's okay. No, look, if you're asking me who I think is a better team, I think the Eagles are a better team than the Giants. But as I said before, the Giants have been in every game that they've played this year, other than the 49er game. They've given everybody they played a real run for their money. If they had any luck at all this year, they could be actually 6-3 right now, or 7-2 instead of 2-7. I mean, that's how close these games are. If you look at it, they lose by 1 to the Eagles, by 2 to Tampa Bay, by 3 to Dallas, by 4 to Chicago, 8 against the Rams. And, of course, then they had the they got blown out against they lose by 10 to the Steelers, and then they got blown out by the 49ers. But, I mean, they've been in every game. So, I mean, it's not like it's not like they've scored 120 points and given up 360. It's not like that at all. They've been there. They just haven't learned how to win. What I'm hoping for as a Giant fan is that they finally got a win, and they did it the right way. The defense stepped up and stopped the other team when they had to stop them. And hopefully they can do the same thing with the Eagles.
Got an NFC East, got a Dallas question here. Cosmos and Dicey, 851. Explain to me why McCarthy kicked a field goal at the Steelers' 23-yard line with 4.5 inches to go. I can't answer that. I don't know what's going on in Dallas. Jerry Jones has got to be on his deathbed watching this team. With how bad this division is and for Dak to have that.
I'll tell you why. Because they have a fourth-string quarterback playing, okay, and their offensive line is a little banged up, and he didn't think they could make it. So he wanted to make sure he scored. They scored. If they got stopped, Dallas had a lot of momentum going. Okay, if they got stopped and came away with nothing, all the momentum would have swung to Pittsburgh. Now, am I saying that I would have done the same thing? No, I would have gone for it because my attitude is you're 2-6, so you really have nothing to lose. But you know what? McCarthy wanted to play it safe and make sure he got points, so you can't really blame him for that.
But, I mean, looking at the East as a whole, I mean, it's a one-bid division when it comes to the playoffs.
Absolutely.
I'm picking the Eagles to win the East at a 7-8-1 record.
I think they win, but I think they win at 6-9-1.
6-9-1?
6-9-1.
Feeling on the game Sunday between the Eagles and the Giants?
I think it's going to be a very close game. I see the Eagles winning it 23-20.
23-20. Now that would a win Sunday would really put a stranglehold on the division in terms of the Eagles.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, listen, the football team blew it by not beating the Giants yesterday. I mean, they came out yesterday and played one of the sloppiest first halves I've ever seen a professional football team play. The fact that the Giants were ahead 20-3, to be behind the Giants 20-3, I mean, that's not good. I mean, you can't be that bad. That's just embarrassing.
And then they get another devastating. I don't know what it is with the Washington football team, the Washington football franchise, and these devastating quarterback injuries that they keep getting, going back years to Joe Theismann. But they have another one yesterday. Kyle Allen, he messes up his knee. He's going to be out for the season. And now Alex Smith is presumably going to be getting the reins as the starting quarterback.
He played pretty well yesterday. Unfortunately for him, Washington's offensive line is still terrible. And the Giants were able to get a lot of pressure on him, and they forced him into a lot of mistakes. And, that is a problem for Washington. Their offensive line just isn't good enough.
So you look at the NFC East. Are we in agreement that the Eagles will be the lone representative of the NFC East in the playoffs?
Yeah, I can't see anybody else catching them. As I said, the Giants, I think the Giants, quite honestly, are the second best team in the division. They haven't been embarrassed by anybody this year. They've been extremely competitive. They just aren't good enough to win games. That's really all there is to it. It's not like they're losing 30-10, or 42 to nothing. They're not losing games like that. So I mean, they're losing close games. They haven't learned how to put teams away. That just comes with experience. There's a lot of young players on their team, and hopefully, they're going to get better and better. I think I think they're a much better team this year than they were last year. While last year they might, they had 4 wins. I don't know if the Giants get 4 wins this year, but I think that they are miles ahead this year than they were last year.
All right, let's move on to the NFC. We'll go to the NFC South. Seems to be a popular topic. You got the Saints, you got the Bucks, you got the Falcons, you got the Panthers. To me, Brad, the Saints made a significant statement last night. A 38-3 beatdown of Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks.
And they could have won by more if they really wanted to. They took it easy.
I don't know what Tom Brady and the offensive game coaching staff did in terms of game planning. I mean, they just had Tom Brady in all kinds of positions to fail. They didn't really try with the running game. I mean, I guess
they couldn't run against him. I mean, that's really all it boiled down to. They tried to run and they couldn't. I mean, the Saints' defensive line yesterday created a new line of scrimmage almost every play. I mean, it was unbelievable how both sides of the ball they dominated. And Drew Brees yesterday was spectacular. I mean, what did he throw to 11? He completed passes, I believe, to 11.
He put on a clinic. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, he didn't just go to Michael Thomas exclusively. He went to everybody. Anybody who was a receiver who could catch a pass on that team caught a pass last night. I mean, I just thought that first half was one of the most impressive offensive performances I've ever seen. And you're doing it against a pretty good Tampa Bay team.
They are a good defense.
Yeah, I mean, it was really surprising to see that. So, I mean, right now, New Orleans has got to be at this point. Right now, they have to be the favorite in the NFC to get to the Super Bowl, not win it, but to get to the Super Bowl. I mean, that's right now. They've certainly proven it. They made a statement yesterday, and now that they got all their guys back, they got all their defensive players back. Their offensive line is completely healthy now. Thomas is completely healthy. I mean, they're gonna. I mean, if they stay healthy like they are right now, who's going to beat them in the NFC? I don't see it.
Based on last night, nobody. I would consider them not only favorites, but significant favorites after last night to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. Like you said, they're healthy. They have a coach and a quarterback who have been there before. Alvin Kamara is terrific. And their defense is top-notch. Lattimore is an excellent corner. Their defensive line played terrific. They're good in the trenches. I do think Tampa Bay is going to get one of these wild card spots.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree. Look, Tampa Bay just last night got beat by a team that's been together a lot longer. The players have been together a lot longer. It just looked like, Tampa Bay looked like a group of all-stars that haven't played together a lot. Well, New Orleans looked like a bunch of guys who've been playing together for a long time, and everybody knows each other and knows what they're doing. And Tampa Bay just last night looked completely discombobulated. I mean,
I think that's going to be
that would be my best description. But Tampa Bay is very talented, and by the end of the season, they should, just because of their talent, they should be in the playoffs. And you would think that they will all have a better understanding of the offense and everything else that goes on. I mean, look at the way they beat down Green Bay. I mean, that's a good football team.
I agree with you because I think that's going to be the matchup wild card weekend in Philadelphia. I think it's going to be the 7-8-1 Philadelphia Eagles hosting a probably an 11-win, 10-win Tampa Bay team being the wild card in the NFC.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what would not surprise me, and you're going to laugh at this one, but the Minnesota Vikings are starting to play some good football now, and it's not too late for them. They're 3-5. They're playing a lot better. The defense has really come back. They're playing a Detroit team who they should beat this week. That would put them to 4-5. And you got to think, if they can get.
Well, they played Detroit. They played Detroit yesterday. They won.
They won. Okay, so who do they have next? Chicago. I think they have Chicago next week.
I was just looking at the slate. Hold on. Yeah, they're going to play right in our slot here, right on Monday Night Football. They're going to take on the Bears.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm sorry. I meant to say the Bears. That's right. They beat Detroit yesterday. But they beat the Bears tomorrow. The Bears are 5-3 now.
Right. They lose to the Titans. They lose to the Titans yesterday.
The Vikings are 3-5. Vikings win that game. All of a sudden, they're only one game behind the Bears. And if they can come in third in that division, they could make the playoffs. I mean, it's very conceivable that
the Bears. I mean, we're moving on to the Central now. I mean, the Packers are going to win the Central. I don't think the Packers are going to the Super Bowl or anything like that. They get a big bounce back win after losing 2 games in a row to Tampa Bay and Minnesota, respectively. They get a big win over a depleted Niners team, who I don't think's that good. I mean, they're going to win the Central. That'd be the dream. I think that might be a game the Eagles can steal. But then you're not going to be able to see them in the playoffs because they're going to be they're going to be a division winner, and the Eagles are going to have to play a wild card team. But
right. Now the Eagles will end up playing. So how does it go? There's 7 teams that make it?
Yes.
Okay, so what happens? The number 1 team is the only one that gets the bye, right?
That's correct. So the Eagles are going to play the number 1 wild card team in the NFC. They're going to host the number 1 wild card team, which is either going to be, in my opinion, one of 4 teams. It's either going to be the Arizona Cardinals or Seattle Seahawks, whoever doesn't win that division, or it's going to be the New Orleans Saints or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, whoever doesn't win that division. One of those 4 teams is going to be the top wild card, and I don't think the Eagles have a chance in hell at beating any of them in the playoffs.
Yeah, I would agree with you. That would be rough. But we'll see. I mean, again, I think I'm saying it right now. Watch out for the Minnesota Vikings. They have all of a sudden, they go and they beat Green Bay. They came back and smacked Detroit yesterday. Watch out for this team. They have a lot of talent. It's not that. For whatever reason, I think all of us were a little shocked about them being 1-5. Now they're playing better. Don't count them out yet. Not just yet. And by the way, the Jets have taken a 3-0 lead over the Patriots. For those of you who are keeping score.
I'm trying to bring up the playoff picture here in the NFC on my computer. But, I mean, we move on to the West. I mean, I can't figure out this Arizona Cardinals team. I mean, I get the Dolphins are an emerging team, and Tua looks good, and their defense looks good, and it looks like Brian Flores has got the train on the right tracks down there from a coaching standpoint. But, the Cardinals, they go out and beat the Seahawks at home in a big primetime game, and I'm just expecting this team to take off, and they go out and they lose to the Miami Dolphins at home. I mean, I was disappointed in that. I didn't see that one coming at all. I thought the Cardinals were going to roll in that game.
Yeah, I did as well. Uh, the Cardinals have had 2 bad losses this year. I think that Miami game was a terrible loss, and I think that the Detroit game was a terrible loss. The Cardinals are exhibiting some growing pains this year. They're a good team, but it just seems like they lose games they really shouldn't be losing right now.
And then you have Seattle. They go into Buffalo. Tough road game. Buffalo is a good team, but Brad, the Seahawks, they can't stop anybody.
No, Josh Allen yesterday just was tremendous. I mean, what a game he had. Josh Allen is a really good athlete. He's not the most accurate passer in the league. We all know that, but he's an athlete, and you know what? He can run the ball very well. He's very tough to bring down. He can get away from the pass rush, and when he's in the zone like he was yesterday, Buffalo could beat anybody on any given day if he's going to play like that.
But isn't the story here, Brad, that Russell Wilson is being forced to do everything up there? I mean, Chris Carson is hurt. They don't really have a running game to speak of. Their line's okay. It's not great. And he's starting to turn the ball over a little bit. He's hurting his MVP resume, but with all these turnovers. Now, I don't want to crush him for the loss because losses happen in the NFL, especially on the road to a good team like Buffalo. But, I mean, Russell Wilson's turnovers and the Seattle Seahawks defense, that's not going to win you a championship at all.
Their defense is going to have to pick it up. I mean, what the Buffalo Bills did to them yesterday was insane. And look, Buffalo is a good team. You can't criticize them for losing to Buffalo, but you can certainly criticize them for giving up 44 points.
Look, and Josh Allen, I think he's a good player. I do. I think they have their guy there in Buffalo. I think he's going to be there for a long time, and I think they have a good coach, a good coaching staff there that can help him, reach his potential. Not put the game on his back, so to speak. He's not Tom Brady or Peyton Manning in his prime, and he needs help. So I think Josh Allen's a good player in a really good situation, but he shouldn't be doing that to the Seattle Seahawks. If you have a team like Seattle and you have championship aspirations and Josh Allen does that to you, I'm sorry. All due respect to the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen, I'm at DEFCON 4 if I'm a Seattle Seahawks fan now. I'm extremely concerned because
and you know what, you should be because quite honestly, they'll make the playoffs. But you know what, making the playoffs is not the goal in Seattle. Seattle at least get to a championship game, then it's a bad season this year.
But look at the evidence, Brad. I mean, they're up big on San Fran last week, a depleted San Fran team. Jimmy G gets hurt. Mullins comes in. He almost leads them back to win the game. They only win the game by 7. They had all kinds of issues with Kyler Murray. Those are the caliber players you're going to see in the playoffs.
That's the whole point. That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, they're not going to be playing. They're not going to play a soft touch in the playoffs, and they better be careful because you know what? If they have to go on the road in the first round of the playoffs, that could be a loss. I mean, they better watch themselves. You don't want to end up being a road team in the first round of the playoffs. Not that team. They're not when they have such a big advantage at home. Even with no fans, they still play a hell of a lot better at home than they do on the road.
Caden's mama, they can change. They can change it. They vote yes to the 16-team playoff format and have to cancel regular games. I don't know what's going on with the proposed 8-team. I think that if enough teams get COVID and they can't finish the regular season, they're going to maybe take a break like the NBA did and then have an 8-team. 8 teams make it in each conference?
That could happen.
I don't know. but it doesn't matter. The Eagles, they're just going to add a wild card team. The Eagles are still, in our opinion, make the playoffs because of they're going to win the East at
By
7
default.
by default. Yes, Tommy Arnone. Vikings are playing well. Dalvin Cook is a stud. Yeah, Dalvin Cook. I mean, he missed a. I think he missed one game, but I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean,
I think he's now leading the league in rushing, is he not?
the NFL MVP has just become like a default. Okay, who's the best quarterback? He's the MVP of the league. It wouldn't surprise me that if a running back got the nod this year. You have Kamara, you have Henry, you have Cook that are all playing fantastic football.
Yeah, the running game, and let's be honest, the running game is starting to come back in the NFL. A lot of teams are starting to run the ball more again, which I've always been in favor of. I always feel like I would rather have a team that can run the ball extremely effective and use the pass when they have to, because when you run the ball, you control the game. You control the clock. You're out physicaling the other team. You're wearing down the other team's defense. When you're throwing the ball, you're not controlling the ball, and you're not wearing down the other team's defense. And let's be honest, if you can run the ball effectively, the other team just doesn't. And if the other team gets on the field and they go 3 and out, then all of a sudden, a whole quarter can go by, and they run 3 or 6 plays. I mean, that's what happened to the Redskins yesterday, and they found themselves behind 20-3 at halftime. Excuse me, the football team. Excuse me.
Yes, good catch. Thomas Arnone, he was all over Miami yesterday for some reason. Hey, good for anybody who can win money.
Good pick. I mean, listen, if you're asking me, terrible loss for the Arizona Cardinals. To get a field goal attempt from 49 yards indoors and you kick it short. I mean, that's not solid field goal kicking. Let's be honest. In this day and age, the golden age of kickers, I mean, most kickers are kicking 53, 54, 55-yard field goals. Or at least they have the leg to reach from 53, 54, 55 yards. To be short on a 49-yard field goal and lose the game, that's not good. That's not championship football for the kicker.
Bill Middlebrook thinks the Eagles will beat the Giants by double digits, win the East at 7-8-1, and get the Cardinals at home in the playoffs and beat them.
The Eagles haven't beaten anybody.
Look, I'm not.
The Eagles haven't beaten anybody by double digits except the pathetic Cowboys, who are down to their third quarterback. So, again, I think that the Eagles are the best team in the division, but you'd really like to see a statement game from them, just and have them prove that they are clearly the best team in the division.
Yeah, but I mean, beating the Giants by double digits, that's not a statement win.
No, but
you go out and beat the Packers by double digits. That's a statement win.
Yeah, that's a statement. Yeah,
I say the Packers because I think that's the.
But you know what though? Nobody else beats the Giants by double digits. I mean, they the best team they played this year is Pittsburgh, and they only lost to them by 10.
Yeah, and then Caden's mom, I said because all division winners making it, they reseed the teams by winning percentage, so 1 through 4 host. So that's how the Eagles. So Caden's mama on YouTube is saying that, if there's 8 teams, the 4 division winners and 4 wild cards are going to, and then everything will be reseeded based on winning percentage. So that would make the Eagles the 8 seed, or the winner of the East the 8 seed in the NFC. So they wouldn't host a playoff game.
That would be interesting, but I mean,
I can't sit here and say that that's like, there's no way the Cardinals should have to come east and play in the cold when they're going to be a 10-11 win team and just miss beating the Seattle Seahawks for the division, or vice versa. The Seahawks shouldn't have to come to Philadelphia, play in the cold. Like that's ridiculous, Like the Eagles are going to win.
I made that comment last year at the end of the season that because the Eagles, what were they last year? 9-7.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that the Seahawks were 11-5 and they had to come east. So I mean, it's the same. It's basically the same thing again. So I mean, look, if you win the division, you get a home game. That's the rule. So, you can't fight it. It's the rule.
All right, so who do you got in the West?
Home game. The Eagles get a home game. Period.
Who do you got in the West, Brad?
The NFC West.
NFC West, yes.
The NFC West, I still think Seattle's going to hang on and win that division.
I agree. Two Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde for the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, you could say what you want about the Seahawks, but the Seahawks are not going to lose to a team like Detroit, and they're not going to lose. They're not going to lose to Miami. They beat the teams that they're supposed to beat, and Arizona's not taking advantage of having a schedule that give them a break.
So we have the Saints, the Packers, the Eagles, and the Seahawks as our division winners at the halfway point.
Right.
Tampa, I'm penciling in Tampa and Arizona as wild card teams.
Yeah, I'm gonna have my upset special that I think Minnesota's gonna find their way into the playoffs.
Minnesota sleep.
Huh?
I feel like I'm missing something. Here in the NFC in terms of a wild card team.
It's okay if you don't believe in the Rams.
The Rams. No, and you know how I feel about the Minnesota Vikings. I hate their guts. I think Kirk Cousins stinks. I don't think Mike Zimmer's a great coach.
Yeah, but you know what though? They're
right
good
now it's the 7th is the Los Angeles Rams.
Right.
So did we lose Brad?
No, I'm here. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I guess you cut out for a second on my end. But look at the 7. I mean, I think the NFC is really top heavy. I'm looking at the playoff on sportingnews.com here. They lay it out really nice. They have the Rams as the 7. The Rams are currently the 7 seed. They had a bye this week. I don't know if they can hold on. I don't know how good they are. I don't think the Bears are any good.
Very inconsistent. I think the Bears are frauds. The Bears are coming back to the pack, which is why I think that the Vikings could sneak in there. And
I'm going to agree with you here. Actually, I'm going to agree with you here because the Vikings and the Bears, they play next Monday night, so we'll be live reacting to it. By the way, the Patriots have taken a 7-3 lead on the legs of Cam Newton rushing touchdown, 7-3.
Jets are on the move, though.
Patriots, there's not much defense being played.
No.
Arnone stays hot. Looking good early for his over. But I'm gonna say that the winner of next week's Bears-Vikings game is going to make the playoffs as the 7 seed.
That could happen. That's a very
Niners are too injured. I'm not a fan of the Rams. Jared Goff stinks.
The Rams are very inconsistent. They're another team that's very inconsistent. You see, from one week to another, they look like world beaters one week, and then they look like they can't beat anybody the next week. They're just a very weird team.
The Niners, they don't have what it takes. They're too injured. The Lions, they're not. And then, I mean, Atlanta, Carolina, the football team, Dallas, and New York, they're not making the playoffs. So I think the winner of the Bears and Vikings game next week is going to make the playoffs.
And that would probably, and if Minnesota wins, watch out. Because that's their opportunity.
No one's playing better football right now from the running back position than Dalvin Cook.
No, he's just been sensational.
200 yards yesterday. They just they take care of business against a bad Lions team. And, they're on the move. And with this extra playoff spot now, you can overcome a bad start. If you get hot at the right time, we've seen it before. You've seen it twice in New York.
Oh, yeah. Listen, you get hot at the right time, anything can happen. I mean, the Giants one year were the 6th seed. They were 10-6 when they won their first Super Bowl. When they had that run of 2 in 5 years. And then the second time they won the division at 9-7, and then came back again and won. Back in the 80s and 90s when they won those two, they were 14-2 and they were 13-3. So I mean they didn't, they were good all season.
And then Tom Bernone, he chimes in. Rams a strange team to figure out. Yeah, I agree. First off, I don't think
they're impossible to handicap that team. Every week.
You look at their roster. Like if you turned on Madden, right, and you're trying to pick a Madden team to play with, you look at their defense. You got, and there's the
nice play by the Jets.
But like you have Jalen Ramsey, the best corner in the league, at least in my opinion. Aaron Donald, the best maybe player in all of football. So like your defense should be pretty good. Then you have Goff, who is so hit or miss. I don't think he's any good.
Well, I think Goff is really the problem. Goff is really the problem because you never know what you're going to get. I mean, they got plenty of guys offensively who can play. I mean
Higbee at tight end, he's okay. Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, that's an okay receiver tandem. I don't know. I'm just not feeling it with the Rams, and I believe I picked the Rams to make the playoffs before week 1 in our preseason predictions, but I don't think
the Vikings are going back to playing physical football again and running the ball and the last 2 weeks that's what they've been doing. They've been playing ground and pound, and they're letting Cousins throw the ball only when he really needs to. I think they were throwing the ball way too much at the beginning of the season, and I think that was a problem. I think they need to go back to being a physical football team. Let's be honest. The only way anybody in the NFC is going to beat the New Orleans Saints is if they go in there into New Orleans and they just play very physically with them and can push them around.
Because which the Vikings did. Wild card.
The Vikings have done that to them twice in a row. Not in a row. I'm sorry. They've done that to them twice. They did that to them in the miracle Stephon Diggs touchdown win, and they did that last season. So, when the Rams beat them in the playoffs, they out-physicaled them too. But is there anybody who can play physically with them and out-physical them? Because it seems like that's what beats the Saints is a real tough physical team.
Let's move on to the AFC here. Let's start in the AFC North. I want to start in the North because the Pittsburgh Steelers are 8-0. They had a little bit of a scare yesterday. They didn't cover the monster number. It cost many people some money against the Cowboys. The Cowboys kind of stuck with them for a little bit. And, I feel like people are sleeping on Pittsburgh, even though they're 8-0. They're the number 1 seed in the AFC. I think they're better than the Ravens. I think they're better than the Browns. I think they're going to win that division.
Yeah, I mean, they did stop. I'll tell you what, the game that they beat the Ravens, they stopped them twice inside the 10-yard line to win that game, to win those 2 games. I believe they what was it, in the fourth quarter, I think they stopped them at the 6. And then in the on the one drive, then they got the ball back. And I believe they got to the 12-yard line and threw the ball in the end zone and they couldn't get it done. They've actually won a lot of games where their defense had to stop somebody in the touchdown. There's bad news for the Jets. Mahi Becton has just walked into the locker room, so that's a tough injury.
No, that's not good at all. It's the end of the first quarter here. It's 7-3 Patriots. We had a Jets field goal to start the scoring off, and then Cam Newton was able to put a drive together and run it in. But
awful news for the Jets.
So Steelers are 8-0. They're going to win the North. This guy Minka Fitzpatrick, he plays free safety. He got traded there at last year's trade deadline.
Boy, is he a good player? He was definitely worth the first round.
This guy's unbelievable. This guy is a safety, and he's around the ball constantly.
Rob, what he's basically done is he's replaced Ryan Shazier. I mean, that's kind of what
he's playing the safety position at an Ed Reed, Brian Dawkins, a Troy Polamalu type Hall of Fame level. Like, it's unbelievable what this guy's doing. I mean, you hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah.
What's worth the first-round pick they gave up?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the guy's tremendous. He's an all-pro. He's an all-pro safety. And listen, you got to give Kenneth Harris to the coach for knowing how to use him and putting him in the right situations. I mean, that's something that the Pittsburgh Steelers always seem to do. They're just a well-coached, well-run organization, and they're always pretty good And you know what? They're going to be very tough to beat. I do think Kansas City, with one loss, is still a better team than they are. But, they have a good enough defense that they could definitely make trouble.
I love this Kansas City Chiefs team.
Huh?
I love this Kansas City Chiefs team.
Yeah, I wonder about their defense. I'm still a little worried about it.
I mean, look, they're not the 85 Bears. They're not the 2000 Ravens. They weren't the 2000 Ravens last year, and they were able to win. Spagnuolo is a good coach. I think that the balance they have this year as opposed to last year is much better with Hilaire and Le'Veon Bell and Darrell Williams as opposed to
they have a better running game this year than they did last year.
Damian Williams. They're strong in the trenches. Chris Jones is an absolute beast on the defensive line. And is it me or is nobody talking about Patrick Mahomes as a potential MVP candidate?
No, nobody's talking about him as a potential MVP candidate.
I mean, Brad, going into the game yesterday, Patrick Mahomes had 21 passing touchdowns and only one interception.
That's ridiculous how good he is.
It's ridiculous. This is professional football. This guy is playing Xbox out there.
Yeah, no, he's unbelievable.
Tyreek Hill is a top 5 receiver, might be a top 3 receiver in this
Let's
league.
be honest, though, he's got some unbelievably great weapons, though. I mean, he's got without question the best tight end in the NFL. He's got the best receiver in the NFL.
You think Tyreek Hill is the best receiver in the league?
Is there anybody that can run faster than him?
No.
Okay.
Because I disagree.
Does he not have great hands?
He does. He runs every route. I think he is the best receiver in the league.
I do. Is there any – let me ask you a question. On every single play, do you have to worry that he's going to break a play and score a touchdown? The answer is yes.
I don't feel like he gets the love he deserves because, he's not the 6'4", 215-pound prototype receiver that, say, a Michael Thomas is or a DeAndre Hopkins is.
Yeah, but you know what? If he gets the ball, okay, and he's even. The old saying, if we're even, if you're even, we're leaving.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that applies to Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's the fastest guy in the league. Okay. He's got great hands. He's not a wimpy. He'll go over the middle. He'll do whatever he has to do, and it just seems like he's uncoverable. He's so fast. He's so fast. And you know what? Mahomes, and you got to give Mahomes a lot of credit about this too. And Kelsey, by the way, best tight end in the NFL by far. Right. It's not even a contest right now. If you want to argue George Kittle, okay, George Kittle is maybe a better blocker, but I'll take Kelsey as far as explosiveness.
He also is hurt.
Yeah, well, and that's not new. He always seems to get hurt. But Patrick Mahomes, he can read a defense better than almost every quarterback in the league. That's what makes him so good. He's just so smart out there. I mean, it's unbelievable how smart this kid is. And you look at him, and he's out there. He's reading the defense. He knows exactly what he wants to do. And it doesn't hurt to have a guy like Andy Reid as your coach, who's a really good offensive mind.
Yeah,
now he's got a better running game. I mean, listen, Pittsburgh has a very good defense, and I don't want to take anything away from Pittsburgh because they've been outstanding in the first half of the season. But I just don't know if they can. I don't know if they can beat Kansas City in a playoff game. And by the way, I don't think it's good if they keep being undefeated. I think that being undefeated takes a lot out of a team because you start having the other teams circle you on their schedule. Everybody's playing you like you're the Super Bowl champions. And you have that big circle on your back. I don't think it's necessarily a good thing. I think Kansas City is better off if they actually lost the game.
It's something like Brad. It's something to that point. It's something like the last 10 teams that were the last unbeaten team in the league didn't win the Super Bowl.
No, because it's a big burden. Listen, if you remember, the Colts one year, I think were 13-0.
Yeah,
and they ended up being 14. They ended up being 14-2, and they didn't win. I think they got knocked out. I think that was the year that their kicker missed the field goal at the end of the game.
Vanderjack fudged the game against the Steelers.
Yeah, exactly. Vanderjack. Yeah, the Vanderjack game. Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily know that it's such a great thing to go undefeated. It puts a lot of pressure on you. Then, did it help the Patriots? I thought the Patriots started. I think the Patriots started playing worse as the season. Now they did go undefeated until the Super Bowl, but I thought that they were playing worse every week, and they were primed to lose against the Giants that year. I mean, the Giants almost beat them in the regular season in the last game of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely merit to that, and I think that's why the last undefeated team rarely wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's not a coincidence.
So then we have the East. We have currently 2 teams in the East are projected to make the playoffs. The Bills are the 3 seed. They're 7-2. They're in first place in the East. They have an absolute stranglehold on the division. They're going to win the East. And just sneaking in to the 7 seed with their win yesterday, boosting their record to 5-3, is the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, the Miami Dolphins are a team that's on the move up. They're trending.
This Dolphins team is very intriguing. I think they have a lot of good pieces on offense and defense to potentially be a major pain in the ass on Wild Card Weekend. I think the Dolphins are going to make the playoffs unless Tua just gets figured out and just doesn't starts making foolish decisions and playing bad. But I've been impressed with Tua. I'm impressed with their.
Yeah, don't forget, they get to play the Jets twice and they get to play the Patriots twice, which doesn't hurt. So, listen, the Dolphins look like they're a pretty good football team right now.
But you have probably the best corner tandem in the whole NFL with Xavier Howard and Byron Jones.
Absolutely. No, listen, they have a real good defense, the Dolphins. I'll tell you what, you got to give them credit. I know that they kind of threw the season away last year. With all the trades they made and getting rid of a lot of guys and bringing in a lot of young kids. But you know what? Give them a little credit there. It was a bold move. It's easy to tear a team down, but you know what? It's not so easy to build a team back up again.
They spent money in the offseason. They spent a lot of money.
Yeah, they did it in one season. And you know what? They did it the right way. They got rid of a lot of guys. They got rid of some really good players, but they had 3 number 1 picks last year?
Yeah, I mean, Minkah Fitzpatrick, they had 3, and they're going to have 2 this year coming up. They'll have the Texans pick.
Okay, and the Texans are
the alarming Tunzel trade. You get rid of Tunzel and Fitzpatrick, but you get draft picks back. I mean, Christian Wilkinson on their defensive line, I believe he's the 12th pick out of Clemson a few years back. He's playing really well. They bring in Kyle Van Noy from the Patriots. A guy who's familiar with the way Brian Flores wants to play defense. He's been great. It's just they hit a lot of right buttons, and like you said, they did it all in one season. And if Tua can play mistake-free football and give them that threat of a dual threat quarterback, I think the Dolphins are going to make the playoffs in what's a very, very, very weak AFC wildcard.
Yeah, keep in mind, they also had the last place schedule, which is definitely going to help them this year. That's definitely not going to hurt. Now, they still have to play. They're playing the Western Division this year, so I think they still have Kansas City on their schedule. I think they're playing San Diego this week. Or not San Diego. I'm saying they're playing the Los Angeles Chargers. They still have to. Did they play the Raiders yet?
I'd have to look it up.
I'd have to look it up.
We're gonna do early lean. We took a break from early leans last week, but we're gonna look at the games this week because there's a lot of teams. What this 7th wildcard team, extra wildcard spot has done, Brad, is a lot of teams are still mathematically in the mix, which means more games are going to be meaningful down the stretch here.
And the NFC East, if the Eagles happen to lose this week, they will have effectively kept all the teams in the NFC East alive.
Yes, they will.
If they happen to lose to the Giants, which I don't think they will, but you never know. I don't
think Sunday's a lock at all for the Philadelphia Eagles.
So I wouldn't call it a lock.
No, not at all. This team's not allowed to do anything.
Yeah, they still have to prove it as far as I'm concerned. Every week you expect a double-digit victory, but the only double-digit victory they got was against a team that was in total disarray, the Dallas Cowboys, who had DiNucci as the quarterback. The guy that they had play yesterday was not bad.
I mean, I wouldn't say he was good, but he was better than Ben DiNucci. DiNucci
way better than DiNucci.
He was a tragedy out there.
Yeah, I mean, he at least looked competitive. Although
Like,
I will say that
you can't watch him in practice, Mike McCarthy, and put him out there.
yeah, I mean,
Do it.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, listen, once you get past your starting quarterback, it's awfully tough to win in the NFL. I mean, look at the 49ers. I mean, Mullins is terrible. Let's be honest. And you know, when you start having guys like that in there, it's tough. You know, and then Dallas loses Dak, and then they go ahead and they lose Dalton too. I mean, you know, at that point, you're pretty much screwed. I mean, nobody's going to go out there and throw a good third string quarterback out at you.
Then, I mean, getting back to the AFC, I mean, the Titans are 6-2. They're going to win the South.
Well, big game this week against the Colts. I believe they play the Colts, don't they?
Yes, I believe you're correct. I believe that's the Thursday night game.
Yeah, I mean that's a big one. If the Colts
that is a big one because
if the Colts can find a way to win that game, that would be a monumental win for them.
There's a bomb. Joe Flacco
for a touchdown.
Perryman as the Jets take a 9-7 lead on Monday Night Football. Extra point. Penning Brashard Perryman, a 50-yard touchdown pass from Joe Flacco. Jets are going to win this game. They're going to go 1-15, and this is going to be their game.
Well, you know what? If they go 1-15 and the one win is against the Patriots, I'd take it.
It numbs it a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, well, nothing can numb a 1-15 season.
Maybe they sweep the Patriots. Who knows?
No, I don't know. Who knows? Who knows with this team? I don't know. I mean, that was a nice catch. That was a nice pass by Flacco and a really nice catch.
He's always had a cannon, Joe Flacco.
Oh yeah. He has no mobility anymore. I mean,
no, he never did, and he never will. But yeah. I mean, he can sit. If you're going to sit back there and give him time and not pressure him.
Well, I think that could be said. I think that could be said for almost any NFL quarterback. You know, if you give an NFL quarterback,
not Ben DiNucci, you can give him
but
all the weapons in the world. He's not doing anything. So no, you can't say it like that.
No, okay, well, him though. But I mean, any quarterback who's had some success in the NFL. If you give them time, they're going to kill you. And I have to use that phrase, have had success in the NFL.
I mean, the last two wild card spots in the AFC are very weak. I think they're going to be weak. It's the Raiders have the 6th seed, and the Dolphins have the 7th seed.
I don't think the Raiders or Dolphins are that bad. I mean, I'm impressed with the Raiders. The Raiders have done a nice job. The Raiders have two real quality wins this year, Rob. They beat the Saints, and they also beat the Chiefs. I mean, those are two quality wins.
Their win a few weeks ago against the Browns is going to loom very large in terms of time.
Yeah, that's another one too, because you know the Browns were at full strength when they beat them that week.
So you have on the bubble in the AFC are the Browns at 5-3, the Colts at 5-3, the Broncos at 3-5. They're not going to make it. The Bengals at 2-5-1.
Any chance the Chargers can go into Miami and beat the Dolphins?
I mean, yeah, there's a chance, but I mean, the Chargers they just stink.
Yeah, it's hard to believe because I was thinking that they would be a lot better. They're just devastated by injuries this year,
and like they just lose, invent ways to lose games. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, they lose every close game. They don't catch a break. They don't do anything to give themselves a break. I mean,
would it be fair to say that they're the Giants West?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's a very fair comparison.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same.
I know they have injuries, like Derwin James is out, the running back Eckler's out, but
every team has injuries. Listen, the Giants don't have Barkley. You know, you can't sit and cry about it. It is what it is. You know, every team is missing somebody.
I mean,
I mean,
Herbert looks
how
like
many injuries you guys have? I mean, half your team's been injured this year.
Herbert looks like the real deal, but like they're not winning.
No.
They're not winning. There's more talent there. Well, I don't think Anthony Lynn's a very good coach. So I think that they need to get him out and get a young offensive mind in there to work with.
They just might end up doing that. I think quite honestly,
you have Bosa, you have Ingram, you have.
You're gonna laugh. You're gonna laugh about this one, but I smell a Harbaugh sighting in Los Angeles with the Chargers.
Yeah, you think he's going to leave Michigan and go? It's not a bad take. He said he wants to go back into the NFL, and things obviously aren't working out with Michigan for him.
Well, after Rutgers beats him, he might get fired. So,
well, they stink. Michigan stinks. They get trounced by Indiana. They get.
By the way, I do want to give some props to Rutgers, Rob. That's the first time they've held Ohio State under 50 points, and they scored 27 points, which is more than they've scored in the other 5 games combined. So, let's give a little love to them. They actually came out. They had a terrible second quarter, but you know what? They did outscore them in the second half.
Well, I think Shiano is just the difference there. I think he's a good coach.
Oh yeah, I mean,
he's not a good NFL coach, but he's a good college coach. He can mold young men.
He also stole so many players. I mean, there's so many guys who transferred to Rutgers. Shiano I don't know how he did it, but he got all these guys to transfer to Rutgers.
I mean, because these guys go to these big programs and they get promised playing time. They promise everybody playing time.
Right.
And they realize that they're not that good. Like if you get to Ohio State and you're a receiver at Ohio State, you know how good you have to be on the field. Like you'd be a top tier player. And like not everyone that gets recruited there is a top tier player. So Greg Schiano goes, hey, you're pretty good. You should be playing. Come play with us.
Yeah, well, and we will give you playing time. And he's got a few guys like that. I mean, I think I can't remember specifically, but I know they got one guy that wasn't playing much in Ohio State is now there. They stole a guy from Wisconsin, and I'm trying to remember who the other one was. I think they stole a guy from Michigan. So they've gotten some guys. They got somebody from Oklahoma to transfer. I mean, Schiano has been able to bring in some decent players to play there. So give him a couple of years, and I'll tell you what, I think Rutgers is going to be a respectable program. But boy, I'll tell you what, how bad has the Big Ten been this year as far as the expected good teams like Michigan, Penn State?
Michigan stinks. Penn State's a train wreck.
I mean, can you believe what's going on with them?
They get leveled by Maryland.
I mean, I'm excited to see Rutgers go beat Michigan, and I'm excited to see them play Penn State because I think for the first time ever, they have a real good shot at beating Penn State this year.
I don't think Penn State can beat anybody in the country right now. Their quarterback stinks. Their coach is lost. Their defense isn't really. I mean, they had a pretty good run, Penn State, over the last 3 years. They were able to recruit well, and they have had a lot of draft picks leave. And I think this is the year that the chickens have come home to roost, so to speak. I mean, they're just not – they're just behind the 8 ball.
How about this kid Penix in Indiana?
He's very good. Indiana's very good.
Got to be impressed with that team. Do they play Ohio State next week?
I don't know who they play. We'll look at it when we do early leans. I'll see if there's any.
Yeah, because I am curious about that. I want to see. You'll get to see really how good they are when they play Ohio State.
Well, like Wisconsin is like a non-factor. Their whole team still has COVID. They're like about to start practicing, maybe again. They're saying. So Wisconsin, they're out in the West. I mean, so Indiana, the West is wide open, and Indiana's got to be the favorite right now.
Yeah, I would think so.
If you're able to play Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, and you beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, you have an undefeated resume that you're putting before the College Football Playoff Committee. I don't see how you're not a top 4 team.
Yep, no, I would agree. And kudos to Notre Dame for beating Clemson. Although we have to be honest, Lawrence didn't play, so I mean that does matter. And you would think that if Clemson on a neutral Field plays Notre Dame. I think Clemson.
The only thing that impressed me about Notre Dame in that game is the way that they were able to win in the trenches. They won in the trenches that game.
Yeah.
Notre Dame's offensive line played very well. They were able to establish a run. And I thought Notre Dame's defensive line did a good job, pressuring the freshmen. But, I mean, they're probably going to play again. Notre Dame playing an ACC schedule this year. I guess because of COVID, maybe that's a regular thing. I don't know. I'd have to look that up. But they're going to probably play again in the ACC championship game. Trevor Lawrence is probably going to be in there, and Clemson is probably going to win by 2 or 3 touchdowns.
You would think so.
But, I mean, it's a shame because, that kid, the freshman kid whose name I can't even begin to start pronouncing, he's a good player.
Bad.
He's a 5-star recruit. So to totally discount the Notre Dame win, totally for not having.
I'm not totally discounting it, but
I know, but Notre Dame. It's a very polarizing. They're the college football team that I've identified with as my favorite team for many years now.
Yeah, they're a
very polarizing program, Brad.
They're my
no middle ground.
I root for them to lose every week. It doesn't matter who they play, as long as they lose. So, it's hard for me. It's hard for me to get behind that team.
You're that.
Can't stand Notre Dame. Notre Dame is one of those teams. Either you love them or you hate them. There's no in between with them.
And then Bryce Blackwell in the comments, his Florida Gators are doing good. The Florida Gators aren't doing good. They're doing great. They win a big rivalry game. They totally dominate Georgia.
That was surprising. I have to admit, I was a little surprised by that game.
It was one of my Saturday plays, the Gators +3. I was able to actually win that bet.
I don't like Georgia's quarterback. I just don't think he's.
Well, he's young, and this is why you don't let Justin Fields transfer. What they were doing. He's the number 1 recruit in the country. They decided to start Fromm over him for whatever reason, so he went to Ohio State so he could play right away.
Yeah, you know what he's going to be? He's
the better player. Justin Fields is better. Gives you a better chance to win the national championship.
And you know what? And he's going to be the 2nd pick in the draft this year.
Probably, yes.
He comes out. Lawrence will be first, and he'll be 2nd.
You're probably right about that, but I mean, it looks like Florida and Alabama are on a collision course for the SEC championship game. Wouldn't surprise me at all if 2 teams from the SEC got into the college football playoff, but the SEC has major COVID problems right now.
Which is really a shame.
The Alabama-LSU game is in serious question for Saturday. The Auburn game has already been canceled. I believe Arkansas's head coach has COVID.
Oh,
you look at Dan Mullen running into the stands after the game, after the big win against Georgia, totally against, obviously, every COVID protocol in the country right now. You had the field, it's not SEC, but Notre Dame, 15,000 people stormed the field. If that's not a super spreader, I don't know what is. So, I mean, college, they've got problems right now with the vid. Yeah. I hope it works out because I don't want to see a shutdown on anything, whether it's real life, sports, politics, whatever.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we just have to hope that this doesn't happen.
Bryce Blackwell says, yeah, that was dumb. I don't know. I mean, Dan Mullen just doesn't – Dan Mullen's a terrific coach, but he just doesn't seem to be getting it in terms of this COVID pandemic. I mean, from his comments a few weeks ago to having sellouts at the Swamp, the Gators home field, to running into the stands after a big win, he's just not getting it, Brad.
No, and being foolish.
So have we settled? Did we settle just to wrap up the AFC playoff picture? Have we settled?
I think we have to go with Kansas City, Pittsburgh, the Ravens, the Ravens and Bills are all going to be in. I think
Ravens would be top wild card team.
Okay, and Tennessee is going to be
Tennessee's going to win the South.
right. So
at the bottom,
wild card teams are going to be the Raiders, possibly the Colts. Well, basically, you're going to have the Ravens are definitely going to make it. So let's just assume they're in. So that means you have two playoff spots available, and you have the Colts, the Raiders, and the Dolphins as your three teams that are going to fight it out. Who do you think is the odd team out?
the Raiders.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say the Colts.
Yeah, the Colts, they don't impress me either.
No, I just, you know what?
I'm putting the Dolphins in.
Yeah, I'm putting the Dolphins in too, and I'm putting the Raiders in. And again, any team that beats Kansas City and beats the Saints has got my attention.
I'm just not a Derek Carr.
I'm not either, but Rob, you can't.
Told me.
Jeez, how the heck? I mean, if you're going to beat teams like that,
you're right. You're right.
Wins.
But why do I look at their quarterback situation? I look at Derek Carr, and it's just like I can't pick the Raiders to go to the playoffs.
He's not as bad as everybody makes him out to be. He's really not. He's okay. He's like, you know, if you're going to take the 32 starting quarterbacks,
is he better than Philip Rivers?
I think he's better than Philip Rivers now. I think he's way better than
Philip. Sure he's better than Philip Rivers?
Yeah, I don't like Philip Rivers at all anymore. Philip Rivers just, to me, looks like looks like his best days are way behind him. He's just way past his prime now.
All right, you sold me.
Just my opinion, but
go with the Raiders and the Dolphins. So I have the AFC playoff picture holding steady right now as it currently stands. I think that's how it's going to stay.
Yeah, I don't like the Colts. I would have to throw them out.
And it looks like the Jets have just added another field goal. They're up 13-7 on the New England Patriots. About 4 minutes to go there in the first half. All right, Brad, let's do early leans. Let's do our way too early preview of next weekend's college football and pro football action. It's brought to you by the great people at Philly Drinkers LLC, phillydrinkers.com. Click on the A2D Radio Collection. Get all the Sports Hounds and A2D radio merchandise your bank account will allow you to buy this holiday season. phillydrinkers.com, A2D Radio Collection. All right, so you inquired, Brad, about big-time college games next week. There's not much going on. Well, we got to watch the season. Like, Penn State's going to play Nebraska. Hopefully they can win that. Indiana's going to play Michigan State.
Oh, that's going to be – Indiana's going to slaughter Michigan State.
Notre Dame's going to play BC. That's a 13-point spread. I'd be careful there if I were Notre Dame.
Yeah, but Notre Dame should slaughter them.
I'm just saying, you get the big win. Maybe you're.
Well, yeah, it's the trap game. I get it. I get it.
Ohio State's going to play Maryland. I mean,
slaughter Maryland.
State to play to cover that 25 number.
Maryland's in the 25.
You will, okay.
Yeah, I take the 25.
Look, Maryland's defense has been playing really good, and
Maryland hasn't been that bad. They'll lose, but they'll probably lose like 42-21 or something like that.
Their quarterback is Tua's younger brother.
Is he really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's right-handed, which Tua is the lefty, but he looks good. LSU and Alabama. I mean, LSU kind of stinks this year. I mean, Alabama's 28-point favorites at LSU.
Yeah, Alabama's going to smoke them. LSU won their championship last year, and both of the guys graduated. I mean, you couldn't expect LSU to be all that great this year. I mean, they lost arguably the greatest quarterback they've ever had in their program. So, you can accept that.
But yeah, I mean, not much going on the college slate in terms of big time matchups.
Who do my boys have next week?
Rutgers?
Yes.
Let's see. Rutgers plays. Oh, they might have a bye, Brad. They play Illinois. They host
That's a win.
Very winnable game.
Well, we're going to win that game. We're going to definitely beat Illinois.
All right, let's move.
They almost beat them last year with Ash as coach. So,
Ash.
Yeah.
All right, Brett, because like we said, it's getting down to it in the NFL. A lot of these games matter. Tie breaks, playoff races are tight. Thursday night, this is a big one. The Colts are going to travel to Tennessee. Tennessee is a 1.5-point home favorite. I like the Titans here. I think they're a better team.
I like the Titans big.
I think this team could really be something if their defense, albeit it was against Nick Foles and a stinky Chicago offense, but their defense played well on Sunday. It's been a real sore spot for them. So if they can get anything out of their defense, they could be a force here in the AFC. You remember I picked the Titans to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl.
The Titans are gonna crush the Colts. They're a much better team than the Colts. The Colts, I'm just not very impressed with the Colts. The way the Colts got stomped by the Ravens this past week, that was very. If you're a Colt fan, that had to be very unsettling to see that. You would have at least liked to have seen a competitive game. The Ravens won that game easily.
They did. I bet on the Colts. I've been taking it on the chin. I've been taking it on the chin in the NFL the last 2 weeks.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, me too. The Jaguars, they're going to go to Lambeau. Green Bay is a 14-point favorite. The Jaguars stink.
Yeah, Minshew's out, right?
It looks like he's going to miss again, yes. I hate laying 14 points in pro football just because anything can happen, and it's a lot, but
I think the Packers are going to cover that game. The Packers are going to score at least 28 points. Remember how I like to handicap, Rob?
Yes.
Are the Packers going to get 30 points against the Jaguars?
Yes.
Okay. Are the Jaguars going to score more than 10 points against the Packers?
They might.
Probably not, though.
All right. The Eagles are heading up north to the Meadowlands. Eagles are a 3.5-point favorite.
I would have to take the Giants with the 3.5. I think it's going to be a field goal.
Worries me a lot. That hook worries me a lot.
Yeah, but that extra half a point, in my opinion, is a killer. Boy,
maybe you buy it down. Maybe you buy it down to 3. Maybe it'll move throughout the week. Again, it's only Monday. The game's not till Sunday. But if you held a gun to my head, I would pick the Eagles off the bye week. Getting guys.
Rob, I don't know if you saw that hit on Cam Newton. That was just ridiculous. And now they got a personal foul. Okay.
It was a big hit.
Yeah, that was a little too much.
Washington and Detroit, there's no line posted yet because of I don't know why there's not. Alex Smith is going to start. Matthew Stafford's going to start. I don't know why there wouldn't be a line posted yet.
That's
and I'm just gonna skip it. There's no line. I'm gonna skip it. I don't care about that game. Both those teams stink.
I think the football team wins that game.
Tampa Bay is going to Carolina. Carolina, a 6-point home dog. I like the Panthers in this game, +6. I think Tampa finds a way to win, get back on track. But, Carolina, they hang with Kansas City there for a while, for much of the game. In Arrowhead, they have Christian McCaffrey back. I think they could be a tough out here down the stretch. I like the Panthers +6 in this game.
I like that game too, and I like the Panthers as well.
Matt Rule's a good coach. He's going to figure it out there. It's going to be a really good football team sooner rather than later.
Let's be honest. Tampa Bay, ever since that win against Green Bay, they've been a little shaky the last couple of weeks. They just barely beat the Giants. Okay, and they actually that game should have gone to overtime, and then they get just absolutely spanked against New Orleans last night. I think they'll bounce back and they'll win the game, but I think it's going to be a very close game.
Houston travels to Cleveland. Cleveland, the standard 3-point home favorite.
I think the Browns bounce back and win that game, and I think they cover.
I'll take the dog here. I'll take Houston. See, Houston can score, Brad.
So can Cleveland.
Yeah. Look, despite the records, I see this as a pretty even game. Obviously, the 3-point line would indicate that it's not that far-fetched that the Houston Texans would win this game. I like taking underdogs that can score. That's all.
Oh, no, you're not wrong. Here, listen. But the Browns still have Jarvis Landry. They still have they. I know they lost Chubb, but you know what? They still have the guy from Kansas City. What was his name? Kareem Hunt. They still have him. I mean, they're still a loaded offensive team. I know they don't have Beckham, but they still have enough weapons to score points. And I think they have a better defense, and I think they find a way to win, especially in Cleveland.
Denver Broncos taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are a 5-point favorite. I'll take the dog here as well. I'll take Denver +5.
Is it in Las Vegas?
It is in Las Vegas. The Raiders are.
I like the Raiders.
But I mean,
I lay the number there. I think the Raiders
has a lot of potential. I think Denver's going to be really good next year. When they get a full normal offseason with a preseason with all their give their young guys a chance to gel. I think this is a sleeping giant in the AFC West. I'm very impressed.
I think the Raiders win. I think the Raiders win by 2 touchdowns.
Really?
Yeah.
I like Denver +5 here. I'm impressed with Drew Lock. I'm impressed with, people forget this defense doesn't even have Von Miller. I love Jerry Jeudy is just an incredible talent at the receiver position. I like Noah.
He absolutely is, but I just don't. The Raiders this year have shown me that they are a very good football team.
I guess my point is I think that the Panthers, who we just talked about, and the Broncos, who we just talked about, along with the Atlanta Falcons, who beat the Denver Broncos yesterday, another game which I lost, by the way. I think they're going to be tough outs. They're going to be tough outs. You're not going to want to see them down the stretch because they could ruin somebody's playoff chances.
Well, as far as the Falcons are concerned, Denver should have beat them. That they shouldn't be losing to the Falcons. The Falcons are terrible.
No, but the Falcons have seemed to have rallied under Raheem Morris ever since the Dan Quinn firing. They've been playing much better football, especially on the defensive end.
What's their record now? What do they have? 3 wins?
I think they have 3 wins. Yes.
So they're like the Vikings right now. They're 3-5.
They might have 2 wins. I think they're below the Vikings.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, if they're 2-5, they have a.
I mean, look at them though. I mean, they're not that far away from being a potential playoff team.
Well, on offense, they can score. They can score with anybody offensively, but they're still a terrible defensive football team.
Well, you gotta hope. You gotta fix that part of it.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying. That's
the Chargers. The Chargers, Brad, are going to visit the Dolphins. Miami is a 2.5-point home favorite.
Look, not enough.
The Chargers just find ways to lose football games.
Yeah, they'll lose by a field goal.
I like Miami in this game.
Yeah, Miami will win. They won't slaughter them, but it'll be a very close game. But 2.5 points is safe enough to take safe to take the favorite.
I mean, then we got game of the week as far as I'm concerned. 4:05 in Arizona. The Bills are going out to Glendale, and they're going to play the Cardinals. The Cardinals are a 1.5-point favorite in the game.
I like the Bills.
Cardinals just burnt me.
Yeah, I think
Cardinals just burnt me bad. So
the Buffalo Bills are a really well-coached, consistent team. They had 2 tough losses in Tennessee, and then they lost to the Chiefs. In the Chief game, they actually did have a chance to win the game, and they kind of got screwed over by the officials. But I mean, they were very competitive with the Chiefs. The Cardinals, I just don't trust them ever. I mean, again, losing yesterday and losing to Detroit, I mean, just ridiculous. They should not be losing to teams like that.
Cincinnati Bengals, they're going to travel to Pittsburgh. The Steelers are an 8-point favorite. I think the Steelers will.
I think the Steelers are going to crush them.
425. The Seattle Seahawks are going to go to Los Angeles and play the Rams.
That's going to be a war.
I like Seattle here on the road.
What's the line?
1.5. Rams are favored by 1.5 at home. So, I have Russell Wilson and I'm getting points.
Yeah, okay.
They know to that.
Yeah.
Also at 425, the Niners are traveling to New Orleans. The New Orleans Saints are 9.5-point favorites. Maybe San Francisco can put a half together and maybe stick with them for the first half, but I fully expect the Saints to win by double digits here.
You would think so. The only problem I have with that game is, from a gambling standpoint, it's the 21 point thing. Teams that win by more than 21 points usually don't cover like 2/3 of the time. That's my only scary thing about that.
I mean, the Niners, they're just not healthy. They don't have.
I know. And the Saints, and they beat the Saints last year, so I'm sure the Saints are going to be looking to pay them back.
Next Sunday night, the Ravens, they go to Foxborough. They're going to play the Patriots. The Ravens are a 7-point favorite.
I think the Ravens are going to smoke them.
No problem here to lay in the points with the Ravens.
Yeah, none at all.
And then next Monday night, I think we're pretty unanimously on the Vikings to beat the Packers. The Bears are yet again a home dog in this game. The Vikings are favored.
Yeah, I think the Vikings are going to win.
I think the Vikings win the game.
Vikings are rolling right now.
They're playing well.
Yeah, beating Green Bay it has a very positive effect on teams that play in that division. So look out for that.
And then we did kind of the theme of the show tonight was recounting our NFL predictions. So in the Super Bowl, originally I had the Seahawks over the Titans. I'm going to change that. I'm going to pick the Chiefs over the Saints.
I think that's who I had in the beginning.
I think that was your original prediction.
Yeah, and I'm not going to change that.
And then Steelers fan won. Bears suck. I feel bad for Nick Foles. He deserves better. Look, is there like a different Nick Foles that people watch week in and week out around this league that people think that he's good? I totally get it. I totally get the love affair with him.
He did win a Super Bowl for you guys, so
okay. But the blueprint was made by Carson Wentz. Like if Nick Foles played all 16 games in 2017, do you think the Eagles would have won the Super Bowl?
No.
Okay.
I think he came in and got red hot and played the best football.
He played the best game of his life in the Super Bowl, and everybody wants. I mean.
And listen, and he had that one incredible year in Philadelphia when he had 27 touchdown passes and two
interceptions. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? Nobody's forgotten that. But I mean,
yeah. Then he did so good that Chip Kelly shipped his ass out of town for nothing.
Yeah, I mean, and then he started working his way around the league. And then he came back, and you got to give him credit where credit is due. He took a team, a very, very good, talented team, and he was able to take them to the Super Bowl after their quarterback went down. And, you could do a lot worse as a backup quarterback than having Nick Foles, that's for sure. I mean, if you're going to have a backup quarterback, that's a quality backup quarterback. I just don't know if he plays every game that you're going to get quality outings. That's pass interference. Wow. They
got it. There's a flag.
Oh, there it is. I was going to say, my God, how is that not that? Okay. Well, they threw the flag, so I'll shut up now.
Anyway, that'll do it for this edition of the Sports Hounds. Thank you to Frank Vespi for producing. Thank you to everyone who commented, liked, shared. Remember our great sponsors, Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy and the Gutter and Roof Experts of South Jersey and Buck Services. He's Brad Ryer. I'm Rob Brinkman. Until next Monday, peace out, everybody.